the scene of the crime. Next, the defense will present their 3 witnesses. You'll hear from Taylor Perkins, who's Avery's loyal to a fault friend. Of the crime. Taylor will speak. Next, the defense will present. You got it.
It seemed that something happened there, and I do apologize, Ms. Dalfolo-Daly, or Daly, I apologize. It seemed that the defense perhaps made a statement which maybe moved you back. Since we are in a virtual courtroom, I would expect that folks would maintain silence until it's your opportunity to speak. Go ahead, Ms. Dalfolo-Daly.
Due to time, would you like me to restart or continue?
Oh, so that was a person saying that the time was up for your opening statement?
No, just time was running.
I would like you to continue, and it seems that since I interrupted, that should be treated as an objection in a way, like, so it's taken, it shouldn't count against you.
Okay. Taylor Perkins will detail the relationship between Avery and Coach Brockman, including Avery's increasing reactions. Taylor even doubts about Avery's phone being taken, which is the basis of their alibi. Taylor has saved Avery before and is trying to do so again. You'll also hear from Blake Van Owen, an ex-police officer and a paid expert who only ever testifies for the defense. Van Owen offers his own assumptions and offers someone completely different as the culprit. Finally, there's Avery Becker, the defendant. Avery was a student on the mock trial team under Coach Brockman. Tensions were high between the two, and Avery often lashed out, whether it be storming out of practice, vandalism, or breaking into and trashing the coach's home. Now Coach Brockman is dead. The defense will try to say that Avery is innocent, but Avery has lied before and will do so again. Why we are here is no light matter. There is a dead body and a bloody knife. This is no mock trial. This is no fake case students worked on in their free time. A hothead murdered a man in cold blood. On the shoulders of the prosecution rests the burden of proof, to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Avery is guilty. Avery unlawfully and knowingly broke into with the intent to trash Coach Brockman's house. Mackenzie Brockman was murdered. At the end of the presentation of evidence, my co-counsel Zoe will ask you to find Avery guilty because Avery got in, got out, and got even. Thank you.
Thank you. Does defense have an opening statement they would like to make?
Yes, Your Honor.
Good morning.
We, as a society, should not blame the innocent for our own mistakes. Your Honor, members of the jury, opposing counsel, we are here today because of the murder of Mackenzie Brockman. That being said, we are also here because of Avery Becker. Our client is being accused of murder. Avery Becker is being charged with the murder of her coach, Mackenzie Brockman, in the first degree and second degree burglary of a dwelling. From what you hear today, from the evidence and testimonies, we believe that you will agree that these accusations are not true. We, as a society, should not blame the innocent for our own mistakes. The prosecution believes that Avery Becker is guilty. We, the defense, are here to show you today, with the facts and the evidence, that Avery Becker is not guilty. It was a Friday, the day of March 6th, 2020, Mackenzie Brackman was in his home. That day, he was sitting at his table when an unidentified intruder broke into his home through the back door. This intruder stabbed Mackenzie Brackman, penetrating his thoracic artery. From this single wound, Mackenzie Brackman bled to death. Meanwhile, Avery Becker was with Taylor Hawkins looking for her lost phone. As you will hear, they were retracking their steps, searching for her phone that was never found. Avery Becker's phone was never found. Over the course of this trial, you will hear testimonies from 3 defense witnesses. Professor Blake Van Owen, a private investigator, who will show you that this was an incomplete investigation. Taylor Hawkins, Avery Becker's best friend, who will be able to provide a solid alibi for Avery Becker and Avery Becker herself, the young woman being accused of this crime, who will say herself that despite disagreeing with Mackenzie Brackman, she respected him as a coach and did not kill him. The prosecution will also bring their witnesses up to testify. Alex Sifferins will show you screenshots supposedly between himself and Avery Becker. Kyle Kuzak, a crime scene reconstruction expert, who will testify to the prosecution's theory of what happened and how Mackenzie Brackman was killed, and Jordan Markowitz, a homicide detective who investigated this case. We, as a society, should not blame the innocent for our own mistake. Within a trial, the prosecution must bear the burden of proving without reasonable doubt that Avery Becker murdered Mr. Mackenzie Brackman. Avery Becker is a young woman. She is freshly graduated from high school. She is ready to live her life, to show her full potential. By subjecting this new life to a guilty verdict, you are blaming an innocent life for the mistakes of others, and you have truly lost hope for finding justice for Mackenzie Brackman. There is only one conclusion to this case. Avery Becker is not guilty. And there is another suspect in this case, a person who was not investigated. Blair Rollins. Blair Rollins is a name you must remember, as this is someone who was not investigated. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Your Honor, had I been permitted to object during opening statement, I would have objected to argument.
Okay, thank you very much. And I think that would be a good objection. All right, is the prosecution ready to call their first witness?
Yes, Your Honor. The prosecution calls Detective Markowitz.
Thank you. And will Detective Markowitz also be joining us on the
Yes.
Zoom? Okay.
Yep, she's on camera. Good morning, Detective Markowitz. Please state your first name and spell your last for the record.
Jordan Markowitz, Markowitz.
Thank you. Would you recognize the defendant if you saw her today?
Yes.
Is the defendant in the courtroom today?
Yes, she is.
Can you please describe the defendant, Avery Becker?
Yes, she's the young woman with glasses and long brown hair.
Let the record reflect that the witness has properly identified the defendant.
It will so reflect.
What is your occupation?
I'm a Denver Police Department homicide detective.
Do you have any other specialized training?
Yes, I have a cell phone technology and forensic data recovery certification from from the American Academy of Law Enforcement. To get it, I had to complete a 30-day training course and pass the certification test.
What did you learn in this course?
I mainly learned about how to obtain and analyze cell tower records as well as cell tower data.
How do you use this in your line of detective work?
I often use CDRs or call detail records to find information about how a crime was committed, when it was committed, and such. These records track which cell phone tower a phone is connected to and communications coming and going into the cell phone.
Your Honor, under Rule 702, I offer this witness as an expert in the fields of cell phone technology, forensic data recovery, and crime scene investigation, as her expertise, training, and education have been shown.
Any objection from the defense? Not hearing an objection. Let me just. At this point, I'm not hearing an objection from the defense. So Detective Markowitz will be accepted as an expert in the area of cell phone technology, crime scene investigation, and was there one other, Ms. Hepner?
Nope, that's it, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you very much. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. How did the scene look when you arrived?
When I arrived at the scene at 2:20 p.m., Mackenzie Brackman was lying face down in a puddle of his own blood, dead in the front of his house, next to the murder weapon. I noticed that the house was in disarray when I got there.
Your Honor, if I may screen share exhibits 1, 3, and 5.
You may. Exhibits 1 through 5 is what you said?
Yes, Your Honor. Without going through the contents, can you please identify these?
Exhibit 1 is the victim lying face down on the floor. Exhibit 3 is a close-up picture of a knife wound surrounded by blood in his back. And Exhibit 5 is a picture of the knife that was found at the scene.
Your Honor, may I stop sharing?
Can we have one second? And I'd ask that the timekeepers hold up on or pause their time. I've gotten I have a chat message. It says Attorney Carissa Adams was kicked out of the meeting, and she was the one who would have responded to the expert certification of Detective Markowitz. And I'm wondering, am I able to hear you now, Ms. Adams?
Your Honor, this is Jackie Gaithy, and I've let her back in.
Oh, thank you, Ms. Gaithy. So Ms. Adams, I'm not sure, would you like to say something so I know you can hear me?
I'm here, Your Honor.
You may have to speak up a little more loudly, Ms. Adams.
I'm here, Your Honor.
You're here? Okay. All right. All right. I think Ms. Hepner, I guess, Ms. Hepner, you had a hand up. Was there something you wanted to say before perhaps I allow that attorney, Ms. Adams, to raise her objection?
Yes, Your Honor. I was going to ask you if you would like us to restart so she can do a voir dire or whatever she needs to do.
That is, I think that's a great thing to do. I think maybe that seems the fairest thing, since Ms. Adams was not able to make any statements. So do you want, I guess, so timekeepers, I guess what we'll need is perhaps to start over from the beginning of the direct exam of Detective Markowitz. Thank you for your assistance. Go ahead, Ms. Hepner.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ready. Good morning, Detective Markowitz. Please state your first and spell your last for the record.
Jordan Markowitz, Markowitz.
Thank you. Would you recognize the defendant if you saw them today?
Yes.
Is the defendant in the courtroom today?
Yes, she is.
Can you please describe the defendant, Avery Becker?
Yes, she's the young woman with glasses and long brown hair.
Thank you. Let the record reflect that this witness has properly identified the defendant.
The record will so reflect.
Thank you, Your Honor. What is your occupation?
I'm a Denver Police Department homicide detective.
Do you have any other specialized training?
Yes, I have a cell phone technology and forensic data recovery certification from the American Academy of Law Enforcement. To get it, I had to go through a complete 3-day training and pass a certification test.
What did you learn in this training?
I mainly learned about how to obtain and analyze cell phone records and cell phone tower data.
How do you use this in your line of detective work?
I often use CDRs or call detail records to find information about how and when a crime was committed. These records track which cell phone a cell phone connects to, and the communications that have come and gone through that phone.
Your Honor, under Rule 702, I offer this witness as an expert in the fields of cell phone technology, forensic data recovery, and crime scene investigation, as their expertise, training, and education have been shown.
Is there any objection? Ms. Adams, I'm having a hard time hearing you. I apologize.
As the witness stays within her scope of her. Sorry, Your Honor. Can you hear me now?
I can now. I did not hear anything prior to that, though. So if you could start over.
I'm so sorry, Your Honor. I don't have any objections as long as this witness stays inside the scope of her expertise.
Okay. All right. In that case, Detective Markowitz will be admitted as an expert in the areas of cell phone technology, forensic data recovery, and crime scene investigation.
Thank you, Your Honor. What did you notice when you arrived at the scene?
When I arrived at the scene at 2:20 p.m., Mackenzie Brackman was laying face down in a puddle of his own blood just in front of his house, next to the murder weapon. I noticed that the house was in disarray when I arrived.
Your Honor, if I may, screen share Exhibits 1, 3, and 5.
You may.
Thank you, Your Honor. Can you please describe Exhibit 1 for me?
Exhibit 1 is the victim laying face down on the floor. Exhibit 3 is a close-up of the knife wound surrounded by blood in his back. And Exhibit 5 is a picture of the knife as it was found at the scene.
Are these true and accurate copies?
Yes.
Your Honor, I offer Exhibits 1, 3, and 5 into evidence as their authenticity and accuracy have been shown.
Any objection from the defense?
No, Your Honor.
Right. Exhibits 1, 3, and 5 are admitted.
Permission to virtually publish to the jury.
Granted.
May I stop screen sharing?
Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor. Can you please describe these exhibits in more detail?
Of course. These exhibits show the victim lying in a pool of his own blood in front of his home. They show what is clearly a stab wound in his back, surrounded by blood soaking his shirt.
Moving on, what else did you notice at the scene?
I noticed at the scene that there was a Ring doorbell on the front porch, one on the south side of the house, looking at a gate in the backyard, and one facing the back door.
Your Honor, if I may, screen share Exhibits 12 and 13.
Any objection from the defense?
No, Your Honor.
You may then. Go ahead.
Without going through the contents, can you please identify this?
Exhibit 12 shows the murderer covered head to toe with clothes, a devil mask, and gloves running in through the back door. And Exhibit 13 shows the same person running out the front door after the murder was committed.
Are these true and accurate copies?
Yes.
Your Honor, if I may put exhibits 12 and 13 into evidence as their authenticity and accuracy have been shown.
Any objection from the defense?
Relevance?
Response?
This is very relevant as it shows what the perpetrator was wearing. Later on, she's going to testify about the perpetrator itself.
Any reply you'd like to make, defense?
I stand by my objection, Your Honor.
All right. I'm going to overrule that objection, finding it is relevant. You may proceed, Ms. Hepner.
Thank you, Your Honor. May I stop screen sharing?
Oh, and I am going to admit both exhibits 12 and 13. And yes, you may.
Thank you. Moving on, what did you notice at the crime scene? Or, sorry, who do you conclude is in these videos?
Avery Becker.
Why?
Avery has a very similar build to whoever's in these videos.
Moving on, how did you start your investigation?
First, I checked Brackman's ID and realized he had a mock trial shirt on. I investigated this further and found out that he worked at Colorado High School.
Objection.
What is the objection, Ms. Adams?
I'm sorry, narrative, Your Honor.
I'm sorry?
Narrative?
Okay. Response?
My
I think that it sounds like it's an objection that the question calls for a narrative.
Yeah. So, Your Honor, my witness was staying within the scope of the question and was actually almost done with her answer.
The objection's overruled. You may continue.
Would you like me to ask this again, Ms. Markowitz?
No, that's not needed. I contacted the school and found all the members' contacts of the mock trial team, and then I spoke to Alex Fuentes.
Who is Alex Fuentes?
Alex was another student on the mock trial team with Becker. I found out through text messages between Alex and Becker that Becker had recently been kicked off the team for vandalizing the victim's car and wanted desperately to get back on the team.
What did you do after you found this out?
I wanted to do an interview with Becker, but I couldn't, so instead I got a search warrant for Becker's phone. It was apparently lost, so all I could get were the CDRs from the phone, which I got with Becker's old phone number. I made a diagram of these records.
Your Honor, permission to screen share Exhibit 16.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor.
Then you may share it, Ms. Hepner.
Thank you, Your Honor. Without going through the contents, can you please describe this exhibit?
This is the diagram I made of the CDRs.
Are these true and accurate copies?
Yes.
Your Honor, I move to put exhibits 16 into evidence as its authenticity and accuracy have been shown.
Any objection?
Objection, relevance.
Response?
This is very relevant as she's about to go into what she found on the crime scene and what she found through her cell tower records, Your Honor.
Anything further you wish to say, Ms. Adams?
I stand by my objection, Your Honor.
Ms. Adams, I am really having a hard time hearing you. I apologize. Would you mind repeating what you just said? Ms. Adams? Have we lost Ms. Adams?
Your Honor, it looks like she may have fallen off again. I think she must have some internet connectivity issues.
Okay.
I'll keep watching, and if she tries to come back in, I'll put her back in.
I mean, I
stand
see.
by my objection.
Oh, is that
I
you,
stand
Ms.
by my
Adams?
objection, Your Honor.
Okay,
I'm
thank
sorry,
you
can you
so
hear me?
much. All right, the court is gonna,
Your Honor.
I'm sorry. No, did I miss something? All right, so I'm going to overrule Ms. Adams' objection as to the relevance of plaintiff's exhibit 16.
Your Honor, permission to virtually publish.
Okay, I am also going to admit that exhibit, and yes, that is granted.
Thank you, Your Honor. May I stop screen sharing?
You may.
What did you find in these CDRs?
From these CDRs, I accessed the record for all communications made to and from Becker's phone during the time of the murder. I found out that there were multiple incoming texts and phone calls going to the phone, but Becker was not answering their phone at this time.
How did you discover this?
From the cell tower records, I could see that the phone was connecting to the cell tower closest to Brackman's home. Since the phone usually connects to the tower nearest to it, the defendant's cell phone was definitely near Brackman's house.
What were all of the communications made?
At first, there were 2 texts from Taylor Perkins closer to Becker's house. Then, later, closer to Brackman's house, there were a few more calls and 1 more text, all from Perkins and all unanswered.
Then what did these records show?
All connections and communications suddenly stopped after this. The phone was most likely put in airplane mode and destroyed, so it stopped connecting to the cell towers. There are several things that could have happened after this.
What was the timeline you concluded?
Avery Becker left her house at 12:45 or 12:50 p.m. and headed down Rock Creek Parkway to Brackman's house. They then were at his house from 1:05 to 1:17 p.m., where the defendant committed the murder.
Based on the evidence you gathered, what did the crime on March 6th look like?
On March 6th, Becker broke into Brackman's house through the back door, assuming that he would be at work, but was surprised to find Brackman meet them at the back door holding a knife. Somehow, Becker came into possession of this knife and stabbed Brackman in the back. Becker ran out of the home through the front door, and Brackman, in an attempt to get out of the home, died and fell in a puddle of blood in the front doorway of his house.
Based on the evidence you gathered, who killed Mackenzie Brackman?
The defendant, Avery Becker.
No further questions at this time, Your Honor.
Thank you, Ms. Hepner. Ms. Adams, do you have cross-examination for this witness?
Your Honor, it seems that Carissa has disconnected.
Do we need to wait for her? Do you think that she can come back into the session, into the courtroom?
Your Honor, this is Jackie Gaethie again. I'm going to watch for her. I get a notification when someone's trying to get in. So I've changed my screen view so that part of my ribbon for Zoom is always open, and I'm going to see if I've got somebody trying to get in again. But yes, she's been kicked off again. So I would say we need to wait for her, at least momentarily.
Okay.
I'll come back on and let you know that I've let her back in so that you can resume.
Okay. I'll
Your
I'll
Honor,
wait about 5 minutes and see where we are at that point. I wonder, is the coach for team, the coach for team 5 on Zoom now?
They're not allowed in our little courtroom. They watch
okay.
the video, but I'm going to let Mr. Downey know that she's continuing to have some connectivity issues, so he can alert the coach. And if the coach is happening to watch on live streaming, then they're aware also right now, because they're going to hear me saying this to you. But I will let you know, and I would ask that the timekeepers stop their timekeeping.
Yes, I think that this time should probably be excluded from the point where Ms. Hepner concluded her direct examination. Ms. Hepner.
Your Honor, if I may, in the event of technical difficulties, as you've already stated, they are allowed to have a recess. Since she's obviously having quite a bit of issues, if she is unable and keeps dropping off, we ask that another member on her team, specifically a lawyer, will be able to do her cross-examination. They can still get the points and everything that they deserve.
Okay, thank you so much for your contribution and your fairness in all of this, Ms. Hepner. I did get another message or a chat message that indicates that Ms. Adams will be rejoining through her phone.
Okay, that may work better, actually. So I'll watch for her, and then if we were to need to substitute, I would check with Mr. Downey just to make sure that that's an appropriate way to handle that. But thank you, Ms. Hepner, for suggesting that. Okay, I'm watching for her. I'm going to mute myself, but I'll continue to monitor her coming back on.
Okay.
Your Honor, Miss Adams was just let back in, so hopefully we'll see her in a second.
Oh, good. Ms. Adams, when you're on, if you could just let me know that you can hear me.
Can you hear me? Sorry.
I can, Ms. Adams. Thank you very much. I'm sorry about the technical difficulties.
No,
I'm
sorry.
Sorry.
Miss Adams, can you put your video on since you're going to be doing a class? Thank you.
And so, Ms. Adams, would you like to cross-examine this witness? So my thought, Ms. Gaithy, is that perhaps if Ms. Adams may have, her screen is frozen, that it may be, I'm not sure if it's allowed for her simply to do her cross-examination by phone without the video. Because her screen is frozen right now.
Right. Your Honor, I'm talking with Mr. Downey to see how we want to handle this.
Okay.
So obviously this is new for all of us. So just bear with me for just a moment.
No problem. Thank you for checking.
Yeah. Your Honor, is my screen still frozen?
No, now you're moving.
Your Honor, I've spoken with Mr. Downey, and he said that Ms. Adams' team can substitute someone in for the questioning. So I don't know if somebody from Ms. Adams' team can come on and let us know if they have another person prepared to do that cross-examination.
So Ms. Adams, I do see you again. Do you think that you're able to do the cross-examination, or do you need to reach out to one of your fellow team members to take over this cross-examination?
I think I can do it, Your Honor. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor.
No problem.
Detective Markowitz, you were the detective called to investigate the residence of 444 South Flower Street, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And the victim was Mackenzie Brackman, a criminal defense attorney.
Yes.
And you went and looked around the outside of the residence, did you not?
Yes, I did.
And then you entered the residence through the back door.
Yes.
And while in the residence, you noted blood spatter on the floor, correct?
Yes, I did.
So where are those pictures?
They got corrupted.
So no one is able to view that evidence?
No, but I do remember it clearly.
You got screenshots of Alex Fuentes and Avery Becker's messages, correct?
Yes.
But you never saw the actual messages?
No, I did not.
You tend to base a lot of your reasonings on the fact that Avery's cell phone paired with the cell tower closest to Brackman's house, correct?
That's correct.
But the cell phone can always be paired with another tower.
While the cell phone can pair with another tower, it's most common that it'll do this when the area is very populated and the closest tower is too populated for it to connect with, which wasn't the situation in this case. So it's very unlikely.
Okay, now let's talk about the actual crime scene. Do you remember discussing the chair?
Yes.
And the chair is on the ground, correct?
Yes, it was.
Your Honor, permission to show the witness Exhibit 9.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
Okay, I'm sorry, it's getting, okay.
Your Honor, if I may, I can screen share for her if she is unable to.
That would be very helpful, thank you.
You're welcome, Your Honor.
Thank you.
What exhibit was it?
Exhibit 9.
Of course. Sorry, let me go up to it.
That's okay, I greatly appreciate it, thank you so much.
Of course. Is this it? Would you like me to play it?
No, it's the picture of the chair.
Oh, okay. My bad.
Sorry. Thank you. Detective Markowitz, can you tell me what this is a picture of?
This is a picture of the
Objection,
chair.
Your Honor.
Yes, what's the objection, Ms. Hepner?
She's talking about something that's not already put into evidence.
So I think she's if I'm understanding what Ms. Adams is doing, she's identifying the photograph first. I don't think she's asked to admit it yet. Have you, Ms. Adams?
No, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Okay, can you tell me what this is a picture of?
This is a picture of the chair with a broken plate on the ground.
Is this the chair that was on the ground?
No.
Do you have a picture of the chair that was on the ground?
No, we do not.
Okay, so now I might stop you, Ms. Adams, because I guess my impression was you were going to ask to admit this photograph, which would mean, the detective would need to identify it and say it's a fair and accurate representation. Is that where you were going, or what were we doing?
Yes, Your Honor, that's where I was going.
Okay, go ahead.
Is this a fair and accurate representation of what you saw that day?
Yes.
Your Honor, I move to enter Exhibit 9 into evidence.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
Exhibit 9 is admitted.
Okay, moving forward, I would like to talk about the drawer in the residence. You notice the drawer.
Objection, Your Honor.
What? Go ahead.
May we publish the jury since counsel forgot to?
Would you like to publish the photograph to the jury, Ms. Adams?
Yes, Your Honor, I'm sorry.
Okay, then it can be published, and then you can, I guess, take it down, Ms. Hepner.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Okay, moving forward, I would like to talk about the drawer in the residence. You notice the drawer was partially open, correct?
Yes, it was.
Your Honor, I would like to show the witness the exhibit that is marked as 7.
Exhibit 7.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Hepner, do you mind?
No, I do not.
Can you look at the drawer and tell me what you see?
This is a drawer full of knives.
And this drawer was partially open, correct?
Yes, it was.
But this is a picture with the drawer all the way open, correct?
Yes.
So was this a fair and accurate representation of what you saw that day?
Yes, it was.
Your Honor, I move to enter Exhibit 7 into evidence.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
Exhibit 7 is admitted.
Your Honor, I wish to publish this to the jury.
That your request is granted. And then I guess, Ms. Hepner, you can take it down.
Thank
Yes.
you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving forward. Your Honor, I would like to direct the witness's attention to Exhibit 1.
Ms. Hepner, do you mind finding Exhibit 1?
No, I do not. I was going to ask, since it's already in evidence, if she wanted to show it again or not.
Yes, please. Thank you.
You're welcome, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Detective Markowitz, I would like you to take a look at the right hand in this picture. Can you
Yes.
tell me where it is?
It's right above the victim's head.
Okay. Your Honor, I would like to direct the witness's attention to the exhibit that's marked as 4.
Okay. Right, I don't think that one has been admitted yet, but okay, got it.
Okay.
Exhibit 4. Thank you very much, Ms. Hepner.
Detective Markowitz, I would now like you to take a look at Markowitz or Mr. Brackman's hand, right hand. Can you tell me where it is?
Right now, it's beside his head.
So did it move?
Yes, it did.
Your Honor, or Detective Markowitz, is this a fair and accurate representation of what you saw that day?
Yes.
Your Honor, I move to enter Exhibit 4 into evidence.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
Exhibit 4 is admitted.
Your Honor, I wish to publish the Exhibit 4 to the jury.
Granted.
You can stop screen sharing now. Thank you.
Thank you.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, Ms. Adams. Any redirect, Ms. Hepner?
Yes, just one quick one. Based on the evidence you gathered today, who killed Mackenzie Brackman?
Avery Becker.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right, would the people like to call their next witness?
The prosecution calls Alex Fuentes to the stand.
Thank you. You may proceed, counsel.
Hello, Mr. Cifuentes. Could you please state your name and spell your last for the record?
Alex Cifuentes, Sifuentes.
May I call you Alex? And please tell the jury a bit about yourself.
You may call me Alex. I'm a senior at Colorado High School. Last year, when I was a junior, I was on the mock trial team coached by Mr. Brackman.
Did you enjoy it?
I loved mock trial, and I was good at it. I was a great lawyer, and I was a pretty good witness. looked a bit different in real life. But I was on the team with two other people in this room, Avery Becker, the defendant, and Taylor Perkins.
Do you personally know Avery Becker?
Yes, I do. It's still pretty hard to testify against her.
What's your relationship with Avery like?
Avery was my best friend and was actually the one who convinced me to join mock trial. We were pretty evenly matched, and even though I liked Avery, Coach Brackman, not so much.
Why was that?
Well, Avery was constantly antagonizing the coach. I mean, the coach wanted us to be bulletproof, really, really prepared, while Avery scoffed at preparation. It caused some problems.
What kind of problems?
Well, they argued every single practice. It was preposterous.
What did they argue about?
Well, Avery winged everything and annoyingly was very good at it. The coach hated this and it caused 3 huge blowups. I used to always joke that they'd kill each other, but I never expected fate could be so literal.
Could you tell the jury about the first blowup?
Sure. The first blowup started when Avery was late, again, for like the upteenth time, and Brackman hit a boiling point. His fury was beyond evident.
What happened next?
Well, Avery was demoted to B team, which was a huge slap in the face considering the fact that she was a senior.
Did Avery stay on the B team?
No, Avery was on B team for like a minute, tops.
How come?
Well, after being demoted, Avery convinced Taylor Perkins to quit mock trial altogether. This left an opening in A team, and after her 5-minute timeout, once again we had Avery on A team.
Was that the end of blow up number 1?
Yes, it was.
Okay, when does blow up number 2 start?
Well, after that we went to regionals, and Avery improvised everything, as always, and won Best Attorney Award. I was a little bit peeved.
Why?
Well, I worked on my materials extremely hard, but Avery just comes out of nowhere, conjures greatness out of literally nothing, and completely wraps the jury around her finger. But c'est la vie. And besides, my frustration was dwarfed by Brackman's.
Why was that?
Well, Avery hadn't the faintest touch of prep, so Coach told Avery that in the real world, in a real court case, that would be malpractice. And of course, Avery got all huffy puffy and stormed out.
What happened after Avery stormed out of practice?
Well, this directly bleeds into blow-up number 3.
Okay, what happened next?
Well, what happened next was absolutely ridiculous. Avery committed an actual crime. Avery took a permanent marker and went over to Coach Brackman's gorgeous vintage Porsche and vandalized it by writing Worst Attorney Award on the hood. The audacity, I know.
What was Brackman's reaction?
Obviously, he was very, very irate and kicked Avery off the team forever.
How did Avery being kicked off the team affect the rest of you?
Well, since Avery wasn't on the team, we would have to substitute Avery for State. Problem is, mock trial rules say that that's not allowed, so we would have to forfeit State. The whole team was pretty forlorn.
During this time, did Avery ever talk to you again?
Yes, Avery sent me a couple texts.
Directing your attention to Exhibit 14, please identify it.
These are the texts Avery sent me.
Are these an accurate copy?
Yes.
Are these an authentic copy?
Yes.
Your Honor, I move to admit Exhibit 14 into evidence. Its authenticity and accuracy have been shown.
Is it possible for you to screen share that exhibit?
I was just gonna say permission to publish to jury via screen share.
Yes, please. And then I would like to see it, and I would like to hear whether the defense has any objection to Exhibit 14.
No objections, Your Honor.
All right, it's admitted.
Alex, what is important in these text messages?
Well, they start off relatively normal. Avery asking for my help with getting back on the team. But then it got a bit strange.
How so?
Well, after I said that after the car incident, I highly doubt Brackman would let Avery back on the team, she responded with, well, if he's still upset about his car, then he's gonna be really upset when he sees what I do to his house.
What did Avery plan to do to his house?
Avery planned to break in and trash Coach Brackman's house to really show him.
What was your response?
Well, I had the response of most irrational people. I thought it was a terrible idea, but of course, Avery didn't listen.
Alex, the text end here. How do you know Avery didn't listen to you?
Well, I had a first-hand seat to their troubled relationship together. I've seen Avery get angry and trash Coach Brackman's car. I received text with Avery threatening to trash Coach Brackman's house. And then somebody did break into Coach Brackman's house, and now my coach is dead. That's how I know.
Regarding your relationship with Avery, are you and Avery rivals?
What? No, Avery got me into mock trial. I never viewed Avery as a rival. The fact that people believe that is absurd.
And finally, why was Avery a good lawyer?
Well, Avery could convince anyone of anything. If Avery wanted to, she could convince the jury that they themselves had committed the crime. You know, just something to keep in mind.
Thank you, Alex. No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Cross-examination.
Well, Your Honor.
Good morning.
Good morning, Alex Fuentes.
Morning.
Is it fair to say that you do not have an alibi to where you were on the day of the murder?
Well, yes.
Permission to show witness Exhibit 14, Your Honor.
Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
Granted.
These are screenshots of text messages you supposedly between yourself and Avery Becker, correct?
Correct.
Are these fair and accurate representations of screenshots you sent Detective Markowitz?
Yes, they are.
Can you read a phone number on these text messages?
No, you cannot. You can only see the contact information.
And is it reasonable to say that you understand how a cell phone works?
Yes, it is.
On a phone, you can change the name of a contact to any number, correct?
Yes.
Is there a date on these screenshots?
Yes, the name is Avery Becker.
Let me say my question again. Is there any date on these screenshots?
No, there is not.
Is there an accurate timestamp for the date March 5th, 2020?
There's not a timestamp for the date, but there is a timestamp.
So is there a reason to say that this might not be Avery who is contacting you?
No, because I had Avery as Avery in my phone.
Yeah, we can't prove that this is Avery, correct?
I guess you would have to be correct.
And you were on the mock trial team with Avery, correct?
Yes, I was.
And you say that she did well based on looks alone, correct?
Yeah, at one point I said that.
But you took your role in mock trial seriously.
Of course, I loved what I did and I felt that I was pretty good. So obviously I took it very, very seriously.
You have quite a bit of knowledge on how a case should look, correct?
Correct.
And yet you didn't bring your phone with the text messages. You sent screenshots when you knew it was vital evidence, correct?
Correct. My phone at the time was terrible, and it was struggling to hold a charge, and it was struggling to even be charged. So I put it on the charger. When time came to go, I was a bit stressed because I was going to I was going to genuinely testify. So under stress, I foolishly forgot it at home.
Your Honor, can I admit Exhibit 14 into evidence?
I believe it's been admitted.
Okay.
So yes, it's admitted.
Okay. And you got rid of said phone, which had the only original copy of these messages, correct?
Well, of course, it was terrible and it was falling apart and it couldn't be charged very well anymore. I needed a new phone so I could, use it reliably.
Now, you have no idea where the phone is now, the only source of the conviction against Avery.
No, it was traded in. I have no idea where it went.
And were you questioned by Detective Markowitz?
Yes.
And did you ever offer to bring in the phone before you got rid of it?
I told Detective Markowitz that I had text messages, and Detective Markowitz told me to bring it in. Unfortunately, the incident that I previously disclosed happened, and I forgot it foolishly.
Now let me say my question again. Did you ever offer to bring in the phone?
I'm pretty sure I did.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any redirect?
Briefly, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Who said you could send in screenshots of the text messages?
I was told by the police that, since I didn't bring my phone and because of the technical issues my phone had, I could send screenshots to the police as evidence.
And who sent you these texts?
Avery sent me the texts.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. All right. Thank you for your testimony, sir. Would the prosecution like to call their next witness?
Yes, Your Honor. The prosecution calls Kyle Kuzak to the stand.
Thank you.
Please state your name and spell your last name for the record.
Kyle Kuzak, K-U-Z-A-K.
Mr. Kuzak, what do you do for a living?
I'm a crime scene reconstruction investigator. I'm not a police officer, but I'm a civilian employee of the Denver Police Department.
And how long have you been in that position?
For 19 years this year, it would be. In fact, I'm in my third year of tenure with the city of Denver.
Does that require any type of certification?
It does. I am certified by the Colorado Bureau of Investigation.
Your Honor, I move to admit Mr. Kuzak as an expert witness in crime scene reconstruction, as his experience and education requires him to give an expert opinion under Rule 702.
Any objection?
Yes, Your Honor, I would like to do a brief video.
You may.
Mr. Kuzak, do you ever mention your education in your affidavit?
Not in my affidavit, no.
Do you ever mention your training that you needed in order to be a CSR investigator?
Not in my affidavit, but the existence of a certification implies training.
No objection as long as the witness stays within his scope.
Okay. Thank you very much. Court does admit or accept Mr. Kuzak as a crime scene investigator, as an expert in the area of crime scene investigation. Go ahead, counsel.
Thank you. Let's start by talking about your work in general. What is crime scene reconstruction?
So crime scene reconstruction, or CSR as we call it, is a process by which I, the investigator, take into account the evidence of a crime scene the physical evidence collected by the police, and I use analysis techniques like blood spatter analysis or other forms of investigation to determine the story of what happened during a crime.
And can you briefly describe your process?
Yeah, I approach my process in 5 steps: recognition and documentation, collection of evidence, evaluation of evidence, hypothesis and testing, and then the final reconstruction.
All right, let's talk about this specific case. Can you describe the recognition of evidence as it pertains to this case?
Yes, I began with my witness tracking spreadsheets, which I used to just organize and mentally catalog all the evidence provided to me by the police.
And after this documentation, what did you do?
After this step, I move on to the second and third steps, which I begin by visiting the actual crime scene. I visited Brackman's house, 444 South Flower Street, to get a good feeling of the layout of the rooms, where the furniture was, so that I could really know the setting of where this crime occurred. And then the third step, evaluation, involves linking these evidences provided to me into evidentiary relationships and connecting those using my contextual knowledge of the crime scene.
So then can you describe one of those evidentiary relationships that you see in this case?
Of course. One of the most prominent evidentiary relationships is between photographs. Specifically, we had photographs of a trail of blood leading from the kitchen to the front door. We had the evidence that the knife was found at the front door. And we had photographs of blood spatter all over the ceiling and the walls around the front door. Now, these are clearly linked, and I was able to relate these evidences.
What's the next step that you take after examining those relationships?
Well, after these first 3 steps are complete, I move on to formulating my official hypothesis. And I do this by advancing evidentiary relationships into event segments, which are just enhanced by my contextual knowledge. They are like chapters of the eventual story.
So what prominent event segments do you see in this case?
I found 3 prominent event segments: the ring videos, the scuff marks, and the journey of the knife.
Your Honor, permission to share Exhibit 18.
Any objection?
Objection, Your Honor.
To Exhibit 18, go ahead. I'm not hearing I'm not hearing the grounds of the objection.
Oh, I believe I said no objection.
Oh, no. Oh, I apologize that I missed that. I apologize. All right, no objection. All right. Go ahead, Ms. Mans-Jackson.
All right. Without going into its contents, please identify this exhibit.
This is a photograph provided to me by the police of the scuff marks.
Is it an authentic copy?
It is.
Is it an accurate copy?
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, I move to admit Exhibit 18 into evidence as its authenticity and accuracy have been shown.
Thank you. And is there any objection at this point to the admission?
Your Honor, there is no objection.
Exhibit 18 is admitted.
And permission to publish to the jury, Your Honor?
Granted.
Can you tell the jury about these scuff marks?
Yes, these scuff marks, through my analysis, I was able to surmise that these scuff marks indicate a close combat situation between at least 2 individuals engaged in this close combat.
And through your process, what did you conclude from the evidence you examined?
So from all the evidence I viewed and the relationships I've outlined in court today, I was able to surmise that the defendant, which matches the exact build of Avery Becker, approached the front of the house, found it locked, and went around the south side of the house to the back in order to gain access through the unlocked back door, which is a sliding glass door. However, Avery did not expect Brackman to be home, and Brackman was alerted to the presence of this figure wearing a devil mask intruding into his home. So he searched for a defensive weapon and decided on a large Chicago cutlery chef's knife from his own kitchen. When the intruder entered through that back door, Brackman engaged, and they created these scuff marks.
And what happened next?
Well, engaged in this close combat, they moved through the kitchen. They were creating a general havoc until the intruder had wrestled the knife out of Brackman's grip. Seeing this, Brackman constrained the intruder in a big bear hug to restrain Avery's arms, but Avery was still able to reach around and stab Brackman in the back. And seeing this, Avery fled through the front door, leaving it open. And as Brackman tried to follow, by the time he got to the front door, he pulled the knife out of his own back, unplugged his aortic artery, and the coroner's report indicates he was likely dead before he hit the ground.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor. Is it true that you were given access to crime scene evidence?
It's true that the police provides me with photographs and evidence, yes.
Were you given access to crime scene photos?
Yes, I was.
Your Honor, permission to show the witness what has been marked as Exhibit 1 and 4?
Granted.
Your Honor, with your permission, I would like co-counsel to share his screen so the witness may view Exhibit 1 and 4.
All right. Ms. Mans-Jackson, are you able to access those exhibits? I think it was 1 and 4. 1 has been admitted.
Yes, Your
And
Honor.
4 has been admitted. Thank you, Ms. Mans-Jackson.
I do just need 1 minute to pull that up, if that is okay.
Okay.
All right, I am now screen sharing Exhibit 1.
Okay. Thank you. Go ahead, Ms. Farrar.
Okay. Mr. Kuzak, can you please look closely at the right hand?
Of course, yeah.
And can you look to Exhibit, I'm sorry, no. Okay. In the first exhibit, can you please look at Brackman's right hand?
Yes, I can.
And now in the fourth exhibit, could you look at Brackman's hand?
I do see that hand.
Is it true that the hand is in different positions?
Well, from the angle of the photographs, they're very different. It does appear as though it was moved, but I would like to clarify that I did not take these photographs or actually interact with the body at any point.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, would you please look at Exhibit 5? Oh, and if you don't mind, could you please show Exhibit 5?
It's right here.
Thank you. Is this a fair and accurate representation of the knife found at the crime scene?
Yes, this is a fair and accurate copy of the evidence provided to me by the police. I did not see the knife at the crime scene, but this is what I was shown.
Your Honor, seeing as Mr. Kuzak has authenticated this evidence, I would like to move it to be entered as Exhibit 5 to be published to the jury.
Any objection?
No, Your Honor, no objection.
I believe it's been admitted, but yes, it was admitted initially, so that's fine, Ms. Farrar.
Oh, I apologize.
Oh, no.
Would defense counsel like me to stop screen sharing at this time?
Your Honor, may I have a moment with co-counsel?
You may.
Thank you.
Your Honor, permission to end the screen share.
Granted. Thank you. And I'm assuming that this time when she is consulting, when Ms. Ferrara is consulting with co-counsel, is that counted against their time?
I
Yes.
believe it is, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Ferrara, are you ready to go?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
All right. So go. You can continue.
I would like to ask that my co-counsel share the screen. I believe Carissa said that she could share it.
Ms. Adams can share it. Okay.
I think so.
Can you see?
I can. Thank you.
Mhm.
Could you zoom in on the blood droplet to the right of the knife? Thank you. Mr. Kuzak, can you see that there seems to be a strand of hair within the blood droplet?
Yes, I do see that.
Though you said that there was no DNA recovered at the crime scene.
I did not say that. I said that there was no DNA of the perpetrator found at the crime scene, but Brackman's DNA, Brackman's hair, Brackman's blood was at the crime scene.
Okay. Thank you. You may stop screen sharing. Is it true that you also created a witness tracking sheet?
That is true.
Would you recognize that sheet today?
I would.
Your Honor, permission to show the witness what has been marked as Exhibit 17.
Grant. Any objection?
No objection, Your Honor.
You may.
Your Honor, with your permission, I would like co-counsel to share her screen so the witness may view Exhibit 17.
Granted.
Mr. Kuzak, is this a fair and accurate representation of your spreadsheet for this case?
Yes, it does appear to be.
Your Honor, seeing as Mr. Kuzak has authenticated this evidence, I would like it to be moved. I would like to move that it be entered in as Exhibit 17 to be published to the jury.
Any objection?
Objection to it being entered into evidence, Your Honor.
All right. Exhibit 17 is admitted.
Can you direct your attention to the first row, third column?
Of course.
Sorry, what were you saying?
Of course, yes, I can do that.
You mentioned 3 suspects in your report, correct?
I do. There are 3 suspects indicated to me by the police.
And in the third row, first row, third column, you do mention Blair Rollins as a suspect, as an unlocated party.
The third column would include the organization of the evidence of the napkin, but the fourth column does indicate suspect 3 as Blair Rollins.
Fourth column, yes, I'm sorry, I misspoke.
Yes, and that is true.
And in this exhibit, you do not mention the height or build of the defendant.
Not on this document, no.
Okay, moving on. You don't need a screen share anymore. Moving on. You never made a determination of who the assailant was. Is that correct?
My analysis led me to a conclusion about who the assailant was, actually.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Thank you. Any redirect?
Yes, briefly, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
You just mentioned that you made a conclusion about who the assailant was. What was that conclusion?
Taking into account the three suspects indicated by the police and comparing those to my story of the crime scene, Avery Becker is the suspect, is the perpetrator of this crime, of this murder.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. Does the prosecution have any further testimony or evidence they wish to present?
No, Your Honor. The prosecution rests.
All right. Would the defense like to call their first witness?
Yes, Your Honor. The defense would like to call Blake Van Owen to the stand.
Okay. All right, you may proceed, counsel.
Thank you, Your Honor. Please state your name and spell your last for the record.
My name is Blake Van Owen. My last is spelled V-A-N-O-W-E-N.
What experience do you have in police work?
Well, my experience with law enforcement first started when I joined the Aurora Police Department, but I later left due to a silver lining I had with the police department.
What other job experience do you have?
After I quit my job at the Aurora Police Department, I worked as a school resource officer, a private security guard, and then I later went into private investigation.
Do you have a degree?
Yeah, I actually do. My degree is in criminal justice, and I got that from the Ashford University, and I am now teaching myself.
What class are you teaching now?
Well, I've been teaching at the CU Denver for 5 years, and I teach in police practices and social justice.
Have you ever been a courtroom witness before?
Yes, I actually have been. I am regularly expert in crime scene reconstruction, cell tower analysis, and general police investigation tactics. And that's all for the defense side.
What states are you qualified in to be a defense expert witness?
I am qualified in the districts of Colorado, Kansas, Arizona, and in the state courts in Colorado, Wyoming, Nebraska, and New Mexico.
How many times have you been an expert witness for crime scene reconstruction?
8 times.
How many times have you been an expert witness in cell tower analysis?
Around 5 times.
How many times have you testified to police investigation tactics?
12 times.
How many cases have you consulted on?
Well, I've actually consulted on...
Objection, leading.
Response?
I am sorry, Your Honor. I will rephrase the question.
Go ahead.
Have you ever consulted on it?
Yes, I actually have consulted on many cases. It's actually been over 100 cases.
Okay, thank you. Your Honor, pursuant to Rule 702, based upon their knowledge, skill, experience, training, or education, I am tendering Professor Blake Van Owen as a qualified expert witness in the field of cell tower analysis, crime scene reconstruction, and general police tactics.
Any objection?
A brief voir dire, Your Honor.
You may.
You've been in this line of work for 5 years.
That is correct.
During this period, you split your time as a courtroom witness and a professor.
That's correct.
No objection to this witness being admitted as an expert in the fields of cell tower analysis, crime scene reconstruction, and general police tactics.
Okay. In that case, he will be accepted as an expert in those areas. You may continue. Ms. Farrar.
Thank you, Your Honor. What is your involvement in this case?
Well, I was asked by the defense to assess the evidence and look at the police investigation.
What evidence and procedures did you assess?
I assessed the death of Mackenzie Brackman, how Mr. Brackman died. I assessed how the intruder came into the household. I assessed the weapon that the intruder used. And I also assessed that the time and death of Mr. Brackman.
What is your overarching opinion based on the evidence you found for this case?
Well, I simply thought it was rushed and incomplete.
What is your interpretation of what happened that day?
The intruder came into Mr. Brackman's home, caught him off guard, and proceeded to stab Mr. Brackman in his shoulder, severing his aorta, using extreme force while Mr. Brackman was sitting down.
What evidence is there to show a struggle?
Well, you simply say there's no evidence. The scuff marks, they can't really be carbon date. You can't carbon date scuff marks. That could have been a year ago, 5 years ago. We don't know when those scuff marks were made.
Can you describe the knife that was at the scene of the crime?
Sure thing. It was a Chicago cutlery knife, and the knives that were found in Mr. Brackman's home was T.A. Hinkle's, and the intruder the perpetrator could have brought that knife from another scene.
In your expert opinion, how was Mr. Brackman stabbed?
Well, under these circumstances, it makes far more sense for Brackman to have been sitting with the intruder standing behind them. Then, of course, the knife would be in the back, and it would be consistent with the size of the intruder and the construction of the knife, which was gripped comfortably and as it was thrusted into Brackman's body.
Let's talk about the cell phone data now. What are some problems that you find with it?
Simply say that the cell phone, it could ping off to any cell phone tower because they cover, depending on what type of cell tower you have, it will cover a different area. So if you have a large area, vast open area, you'll have a cell phone tower that will cover over 100 miles. But if you have a suburban area that's really remote and compact, that would only cover about 6 miles. And so if the phone, depending on where the phone was at, it could have pinged off, and how busy these cell towers were, it could have pinged off to a different location.
Thank you. Finally, what aspects of this investigation do you think were incomplete?
I think there's multiple aspects. The first aspect is Blair Rollins. She was mentioned as a suspect, and she is a leading suspect in this because she matched the height and the build of Avery Becker, and she's also missing in this investigation. I also think that the way the victim was stabbed, a bear hug does not seem submissible because of the build and the height of the intruder, the perpetrator, you'd say. And so I don't think a bear hug or somebody of that build would simply overpower Mr. Brackman. I think the intruder would have to apply extreme force to insert that much of a wound into Mr. Brackman's back, and also have to be caught him off guard and be standing over him, behind him.
Thank you, Your Honor. No further questions.
Thank you. Cross-examination.
Professor Van Owen, you were with the Aurora Police Department.
I was, but then I later quit because
That's a yes.
Ma'am,
Is that a yes?
that's a yes.
You worked there for 9 months before you left,
That's correct. Yes.
due to an incident where you injured someone.
Yes, it was a woman of color. I am deeply ashamed of that. I was
Thank
cleared.
you. You've answered my question. You say you were disillusioned with police work.
I was. I didn't like how the procedures were done.
You were disillusioned because of the tactics and techniques.
Yes.
Do you think of yourself as a check on the power of the police?
Yeah.
Now let's talk about your fees. You make a decent living.
I do. I am a private investigator.
Thank you. You charge $225 per hour of research.
I do, because I'm
and $450 per hour of court testimony.
Yes.
You usually make anywhere between $6,000 and $10,000 consulting on a case.
Yes, depending on the case.
You have only ever testified as a defense expert.
That is correct.
Next, you know both of the prosecution experts.
I do. I've met them prior to this.
You agree with Cusack that the evidence points to an intruder who broke into the home.
Yes, who wouldn't?
It is possible these scuff marks by the back door were made in a struggle.
No, because you can't carbonate or say how these scuff marks were made. You only can assume.
Following that same logic, it's possible that they were made in a struggle.
You could say that, but there's not much evidence supporting that.
So that's a yes.
Yeah.
It's only a possibility that the murderer brought the murder weapon onto the scene.
That is true, but it's only a possibility for the scuff marks to be made by a struggle.
That's a yes.
Yes.
You don't know if the Ring video notifications were turned off.
Could you restate your question?
You don't know if the Ring video notifications were turned off.
No, we don't know if they were turned on or turned off.
Avery Becker was absent from school the day of the murder.
She was.
Avery Becker's phone connected to the cell tower closest to the victim's house.
That's correct.
Avery's phone's records match the route from Avery's house to the victim's.
Yeah.
During the time of the murder.
Yeah.
You did not obtain cell tower records of your own.
I did not.
You admit that you should have done so.
I should have.
Next, you assume that the victim was stabbed from behind while seated.
Yes, that's the only logical explanation to that.
That's your assumption.
Well, depending on how you, looking at all this evidence gathered from the scene, one would have to, because the Ring video camera, one would have to, that build and height would have to be standing over Mr. Brackman in order to exert that much force.
Professor Van Owen, I'll ask you again. You assume the victim was stabbed from behind while seated.
Yes.
You say the problem with text message screenshots is that they can be doctored.
They can.
But nowhere in your statement do you say that they were actually doctored.
No.
Let's talk about Blair Rollins, okay?
Sure.
You offer Blair Rollins as an alternate suspect.
Yes, because she matches the height and build of Avery Becker.
Rollins was absent from school on the day of the murder.
Yeah.
Based on school records you received.
Yes.
School records you did not provide in court today.
That's correct.
You say Blair's father threatened to kill Mr. Brackman.
Yes, that's correct.
Nowhere in your statement do you say Blair ever threatened to do so.
No.
You admit a conspiracy between Alex and Blair is a bit too cloak and dagger.
Could you reestablish your question?
You say a conspiracy between Alex and Blair could be a bit too cloak and dagger.
Yes.
You were not able to contact Rollins for questioning.
I was not. She's missing in this investigation.
Thank you, Professor Van Owen. No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any redirect, Ms. Farrar?
Yes, Your Honor, briefly.
Go ahead.
Professor Van Owen, were you a police officer that needed to investigate the crime?
No, I was not. I'm actually civilian in this investigation.
And were you cleared of wrongdoing during the incident at the Aurora Police Department?
Yes, I was.
Objection, leading.
Response?
I'm sorry, Your Honor. May I rephrase?
Go ahead.
Were you cleared of wrongdoing?
I was cleared of wrongdoing officially, but unofficially, I never cleared myself of injuring the woman of color.
Thank you. No further questions.
All right. Thank you. And thank you for your testimony. Does the defense have another witness they wish to call?
Yes, Your Honor. Could
Hello.
the defense bring up Taylor Perkins to the stand?
Okay. Go ahead, sir.
Good morning, Taylor Perkins. Please state your name and spell your last name out for the record.
Taylor Perkins, Perkins.
What high school did you attend?
I went to Colorado High School in Denver.
It was Mackenzie Brackman.
Mr. Brackman was the attorney coach for the Colorado High School mock trial team.
How did you know Mr. Brackman?
I was on the mock trial team.
What grade were you in when the crime took place?
I was a senior when Mr. Brackman was found dead.
What is your knowledge of the relationship between Avery and Mr. Brackman?
The two didn't like each other because they both had different ways of doing mock trial.
What do you mean by that?
Well, Mr. Brackman would write us scripts to use for the case, but Avery didn't like to use them and would come up with stuff on the fly, which she was great at. She was a natural at mock trial.
From what you saw, how did Mr. Brackman react to this?
He clearly didn't like it. He lectured her on it several times and it was getting ridiculous. He just didn't like that she didn't do it his way.
From your point of view, how did the two interact with each other after this?
They would argue a lot. Mr. Brackman didn't like the way she did things. One time she came even more unprepared than I've ever seen before, and he was really annoyed.
What came from this?
Avery got bumped down to the B team. I knew the team had no chance without her, so I quit the team so she could have my spot.
Were there any other incidents between the two?
Yes, Avery has apologized for it over and over again, but she did vandalize his car with a marker.
Explain more about the vandalism incident.
Avery didn't mean to use a permanent marker, but from what I learned, they got into a very heated argument and Avery angrily left. She ended up writing Worst Attorney Award on the hood of his car and got kicked off the team.
What was the argument beforehand that caused this incident?
He was getting on to her about everything. It was really unfair. He even said she didn't deserve her Best Attorney Award, but she does.
How did Avery act afterwards?
She's apologized multiple times, but Mr. Brackman wasn't having any of it.
Did she ever try to get back on the team?
Yes, she texted just about everyone on the team, but it was her only chance to get back on the team and atone for her mistakes.
What happened after the vandalism?
Avery and I were at the fry shack, and the rest of the team showed up. They were all telling Avery how unfair it was, but Alex was being kind of insincere.
Objection, Your Honor. Improper character evidence.
Response?
Your Honor, I'll refrain from this question.
Okay.
What happened after this incident?
Avery got mad at Alex and stormed off to the bathroom, leaving her phone on the table in her haste, which is really weird for her because she always has it on her, but she was very upset. We never saw the phone again after that.
What was the last day you saw the phone?
March 5th of 2020.
What happened on March 6th?
Avery came to pick me up for school, and I asked her why she didn't answer any of my texts or calls. We learned that she was missing her phone.
What did you guys do after realizing that?
We skipped school and began to retrace our steps from the day before.
Where exactly did you look for her phone at?
We went to the mall in the morning, then we went to the fry shack in the afternoon to talk to the afternoon shift and see if one of them might have picked it up.
What did you see at the fry shack that afternoon?
The team was there. We were really surprised about it because we knew they should have been at practice with Mr. Brackman.
Quickly, what was your relationship between Blair Rollins?
I didn't have a relationship with Blair, but Alex did. We all thought Blair was really creepy.
Is Blair Rollins here today?
No.
Thank you. Now I want to ask you briefly, how would you describe your friendship with Avery?
We've been friends for, I don't even remember how long. We've been there for each other countless amount of times and would do anything for each other.
Now, would you lie for Avery Becker?
No. As much as I love her, murder is murder. I just want justice for my dearly departed coach and for my best friend.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor. Before I start, may I ask how much time is left?
Timekeepers?
I have 11 minutes and 13 seconds.
Thank you.
Hello, Ms. Perkins. I want to start with your time on the mock trial team. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
You were on the mock trial team.
Yes, I was.
With Coach Brackman was your coach.
Yes, he was.
You thought he was a mediocre coach.
I did.
You went as far to say that you thought he was a mediocre lawyer.
I have said that.
Coach Brackman made bad decisions for your team.
Yes, he did, but he still led us to state.
Nonetheless, that's still a yes.
Yes, it is.
You would have rather spent time hanging out with friends than going to mock trial.
Yes, I would have.
You only went for the defendant, Avery Becker.
She's the one that introduced me to it, yes.
Avery was the best lawyer on your team.
Absolutely.
However, Coach Brackman would have disagreed with this.
Yes, and it was really unfair.
Coach Brackman was always giving Avery a hard time about something.
Yes, he was.
Whether or not this was Avery being late to practice,
Yes.
or Avery wasn't trying hard enough.
She preferred not to use the scripts, but she did do her job.
But that was not the question. Whether or not Avery was trying hard enough.
Yes.
This led Coach Brackman and Avery into being in a feud.
You could say that.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Which you found to be kind of funny.
And somewhat.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
The feud bothered Avery.
It did.
Enough that Avery would play pranks on Coach Brackman.
She feels bad for them, but yes.
Avery could have an inflated ego.
You could say that.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Avery could be rash.
Yes.
Moving on, I want to talk about the practice that happened a month before regionals. Avery came to that practice unprepared.
Yes, she did.
In fact, it was the most unprepared you've ever seen Avery.
Yes, it was.
This made Coach Brackman heated.
It did.
So he moved Avery from A to B team.
He did.
You thought Avery was A team material.
Yes, I did.
Even though Avery didn't try that hard.
She didn't prepare, but she was the best attorney on the team.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Because you knew that Coach Brackman would have had to put Avery back on A team.
The team needed her, so of course I did.
It was your senior year.
It was.
And you weren't too shabby of a lawyer yourself.
I would say so.
Yet you still quit the team.
Because the team needed her, yes.
You were right for quitting the team.
Can you please restate your question?
You were right for quitting your team.
Yes.
Moving on, I'm going to talk about the practice after regionals. You were not there to see the blow between Brackman and Avery.
No, I was not. I heard it from Avery.
But you heard what happened.
Yes.
Because Avery told you what happened.
Yes.
Coach Brackman said Avery did not deserve the awards.
From what Avery told me, yes.
This made Avery upset.
Very.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Enough that Avery wrote worst attorney on Coach Brackman's Porsche.
She's apologized for it, but yes, she did.
With permanent marker.
She was not aware it was a permanent marker, but yes.
So he kicked Avery off the team.
Yes, he did.
Avery just wanted to freak the coach out.
Can you please restate your question?
By riding on the car, Avery just wanted to freak the coach out.
She was just upset.
In your statement, you say Avery just wanted to freak the coach out. Is this a yes?
Yes, that was a yes.
Avery just wanted to blow off some steam.
Yes.
So she vandalized Coach Brackman's car.
She wasn't thinking clearly.
Yet she still vandalized Coach's car. Is this a yes?
Yes, but everyone does things out of anger.
Well, as we can see, she did that. Moving on, I want to talk about how Avery tried to get back on the team. You and Avery together were brainstorming ways Avery could get back on.
Yes, we were.
So Avery texted everyone on the team,
Yes, she did.
even Alex Fuentes.
Most likely.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Moving on, I want to talk about the night of March 5th. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Avery swung by your house.
Yes, she did.
You guys hung out.
Yes, we did.
Then you went to the fry shack.
Yes.
Most of the mock trial team came in.
Yes, they did.
They came up to talk to Avery.
Yes, they did.
They told Avery it was unfair she was kicked off.
Yes, they did.
Avery got upset.
Yes, she did.
So Avery stormed off to the bathroom.
Yes, and she left her phone on the table.
Avery's phone was on the table.
Yes.
This is how you knew Avery was upset.
Yes.
Because her phone was Avery's third kidney.
Yes.
Never out of reach.
Yes.
Then you came back from the bathroom. Or then Avery came back from the bathroom.
Yes, she did.
You have no idea if Avery had her phone or not.
We learned the next day that it was missing.
But you have no idea on March 5th if Avery had her phone or not.
You could say that.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Later, you found out her phone was allegedly missing.
Yes, it was missing.
So you guys ditched the school. You ditched school to find it.
We had already taken our English test.
You ditched school to find the phone.
Yes.
You could have just looked on your phone and go onto the iCloud website to find it.
It was the Find My iPhone, but yes, and I forgot about that.
So you're telling the jury you spent the entire day searching for Avery's phone when you could have just looked on your phone to find it.
I forgot we could do that.
But is that a yes?
Yes.
Moving on, I want to talk about your relationship with Avery. You quit the team for Avery.
Because the team needed her, yes.
You helped Avery attempt to get back on the team.
Yes, I did.
You ditched school to help Avery find her phone that was allegedly lost.
Yes, I did.
Do you often save Avery?
You could say that, yes.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you very much. Does the defense have any further testimony or evidence?
Yes, Your Honor. I'd like to call Avery Becker up to the stand.
Okay, you may proceed. You can go ahead, Ms. Adams, with your questions. Can you hear me?
I believe she's frozen, Your Honor.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Well, hopefully,
Thank you, Your Honor.
I hear you, but it's like in a slow motion thing, Ms. Adams.
Please say your name and spell your last.
I'm Avery Becker, B.
Last name for the record.
Ms.
Please
Adams.
state your name and spell your last name for the record.
Oh, thank you. That's you. Okay, great. Go ahead.
I'm Avery Becker, Becker.
Can you hear me, Your Honor?
I can now, yes.
Okay, Your Honor. I think it's when I turn on my camera and my internet starts to slow down.
Okay.
So would you like me to keep my camera off?
Is there any objection from the prosecution if Ms. Adams keeps her, I guess, video off.
For purposes of mock trial, no objection, Your Honor.
All right, go ahead then, Ms. Adams.
Thank you, Your Honor. Miss Becker, where did you attend school?
I went to Colorado High School.
And what grade were you in the month of March 2020?
I was a senior.
Were you on the mock trial team at Colorado High School?
Yes, I was.
And for how long were you on the mock trial team?
I was on the mock trial team for 4 years.
Who was your coach?
Mackenzie Brackman.
What was your relationship with Mr. Brackman?
It was a bit rocky.
Why was it rocky?
We got into disagreements a lot, and I was always criticized for the way I work.
Can you tell me some of the things you were criticized on?
I was criticized on my lazy effort and how I didn't put in that much work.
Why did Mr. Brackman call you lazy?
Well, since I was naturally good at mock trial, I didn't have to put in that much effort.
Can you tell me a little bit more about being on the mock trial team?
Sure. I was on A team for regionals and we qualified for state. It was pretty cool. I was really.
Can you tell me what happened? Oh, I'm sorry. Can you tell me what happened at regionals?
We qualified for state and I won 2 awards.
What awards did you win?
I won Best Attorney and Best Closing.
What was Coach Brackman's response to you winning those awards?
He was really upset with me because I didn't use his scripts.
Then what happened?
I got really upset.
Then what happened?
Could you repeat that question, please?
I'm sorry. Then what happened?
I stormed out of practice.
What did you do when you stormed out of practice?
I happened to have a marker in my hand and I wrote Worst Attorney Award on his Porsche.
When did you get kicked off the team?
I got kicked off the team the same night.
How did you get kicked off the team?
Coach Brackman saw me writing on his Porsche and he got really upset.
Why did Mr. Brackman follow you out of the school?
He wanted me to come back to practice.
Did you ever try to apologize for what happened to Mr. Brackman's car?
Yes, I did. I went to his office to apologize to him in person, but the secretary told me he was busy.
Was there any other way you tried to apologize to him?
I tried texting him.
Did Mr. Brackman ever answer you?
No, he did not.
So you never got to apologize to respond to Mr. Brackman?
I tried to apologize, but I never got a response.
I understand that this must be hard and you're upset over the loss of your coach. But moving forward, who was Taylor Perkins?
She was one of the members on the mock trial team.
What was your relationship with Taylor Perkins?
She was and still is one of my best friends.
Was she helping you look for your lost phone on March 6th, 2020?
Yes, she was.
Where had you gone that day to look for your lost phone?
Well, we skipped school and we went to the fry shack and the mall to look for my phone.
Did you ever go to Coach Brackman's house on the day of March 6th, 2020, the day he was murdered?
No, I did not. I didn't even know where he lived.
Avery Becker, did you kill Mackenzie Brackman?
No, absolutely not. I would never take another person's life.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor. Hello, Ms. Becker. I'll begin by asking you about your relationship with Mr. Brackman. You were on the mock trial team for all 4 years, correct?
That's correct.
And you did not have a good relationship with Coach Brackman.
No, I did not.
You say you would argue at every single practice.
Yes.
And you say that Brackman believed you do more work away from Taylor Perkins.
Yes, he did say that.
So then eventually he moved you down to B team.
That's correct.
You, however, tried everything to get back on A team.
Yeah, I did.
but you were eventually put back on A team
Yes, I was.
because Taylor Perkins quit for you.
Yes, she did.
After the following scrimmage, Brackman did not congratulate you on your performance,
No, he did not.
and that made you angry.
Yes, it did.
So much so that you threw insults at your coach.
Yes, I did.
In your statement, you called Brackman a lousy attorney.
I did.
Yet Brackman was successful enough to own a Porsche.
That's correct.
Let's talk about that car. When you left that night, you had a permanent marker in your hand,
Yes, I did.
and you were angry.
Yes, I was.
So you wrote on your coach's car with a permanent marker.
Yes, I did. I didn't know it was permanent, though.
But that's a yes. You wrote with a permanent marker.
That's correct.
As a result, you were dismissed from the mock trial team.
That's correct.
But then you lied to your own mother about the cause of your dismissal?
That's correct.
And you were even angrier than before.
Yes, I was.
So angry that you told your mother you'd get back at Mr. Brackman if it was the last thing you did.
I did tell her that.
When you tried to speak with Mr. Brackman to convince him to let you back on the team, he ignored you.
Yes, he did.
On March 5th, your phone sadly went missing.
Yes, it did.
You should have Exhibit 14 in front of you as it's been published and entered into evidence. Take a look at it. These are texts sent from your phone, and read silently with me as I read aloud. The first text, "Hey Alex, it's Avery." The next text, "I'm sure you're aware that I got kicked off the team. I'm pretty desperate to get back on." You did get kicked off the team,
Yes, I did.
and you were, in fact, desperate to get back on the team,
Yes, I was.
which is exactly what that text says.
Yes.
Keep reading silently as I continue to the third green text. Come on, please. It's really important to me. Mock trial was really important to you,
Yes, it was.
which is exactly what that text says.
Yes.
But despite this, you claim you didn't send those texts.
Could you repeat that question, please?
Despite this, you claim those texts were not sent by you.
I did say that.
A while ago, you heard Alex Fuentes testify that you asked Alex for help getting back on the team.
That's correct.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any redirect, Ms. Adams?
Yes, Your Honor, a brief one.
Go ahead.
Miss Becker, again I ask, did you kill Mackenzie Brackman?
No, absolutely not.
That's no further questions, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you very much. Any further testimony or evidence from the defense?
No, Your Honor, we're ready for closings.
All right. The prosecution, if you'd like to go ahead with your closing argument.
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, before I begin, may I reserve the balance of my time for rebuttal?
You may.
Your Honor, opposing counsel, and members of the jury, Avery got in, got out, and got even. Avery Becker never got along with her coach, but this angry sentiment at its peak got Avery kicked off of her beloved mock trial team. So on March 6th, Avery Becker, acting upon her own building resentment, broke into her own coach's house, took a knife, and literally stabbed Mr. Brackman in the back. She got in, got out, and got even. As the prosecution, we accept the burden of proof. The evidence provided to you today proves beyond a reasonable doubt that Avery Becker murdered Mackenzie Brackman. Let's examine some of that evidence now, starting with the prosecution witnesses. First, you heard the words of Detective Jordan Markowitz, an expert who, based on her evaluation of the evidence, drew the conclusion that Avery murdered Mackenzie Brackman. Next, Alex Fuentes, a friend of Avery's, testified to Avery's frequent violent behavior through both words and actions. The vandalization of the car, the vicious language, and the frequent lies this witness testified to all show a pattern of extreme behavior from Avery. And finally, you heard from Kyle Kuzak, an expert witness. And from his testimony, we ask you to remember these 3 key things. He, as an expert, knows that Avery was at the house based on cell tower evidence. He, as an expert, verifies the sequence of events leading up to the murder, including motive. But most importantly, he, as an expert, categorizes Avery as the intruder who killed Mackenzie Breckman. 3 witnesses also testified for the defense, which I'll go over now. You first heard from Blake Van Owen, where the truth came out. Blake Van Owen is paid to be a witness and only ever testifies for the defense when they give him the money to. That fact alone should discredit Van Owen. But going even further than that, Blake Van Owen was never at the initial crime scene the way that both experts who testified for the defense, the prosecution, were. Therefore, her investigation is neither comprehensive or reliable because he is paid for it. Trust the experts, but trust those who were actually at the scene of the crime. Then you heard from Taylor Perkins, who only further confirmed that Avery was angry and even had a certain hatred for her own coach. Taylor Perkins also conveniently happens to be Avery's best friend, which discredits her testimony. Finally, you heard from Avery herself. She, before you today, verbally confirmed her patterns of anger and lies. She lied about the texts. She lied about the marker. She was even willing to lie to her own mother. And Avery admitted she was angry. She acted upon her own personal hatred for Breckman 3 times. First, when she vandalized his car. Second, when she broke into his home. And finally, when she stabbed her coach in the back. I implore you to remember the words that Avery told her mother, that she would get back at Breckman if it was the last thing she did. Every single thing that Avery said she would do, she did. The evidence brought to you by the defense consists of Avery and her best friend, who both would never testify against Avery regardless of circumstance, and one expert who is paid for his testimony today. Jury instruction number 2 states that reasonable doubt is a doubt which is not imaginary, vague, or speculative, but one that is real and based on common sense. So members of the jury, I ask you to use this reason. The doubt needed to acquit Avery Becker must, by the jury instruction I just mentioned, be real. Not vague and not small, but reasonable. And examining the evidence, no reasonable doubt can arise. The prosecution has done their jobs in proving to you beyond a reasonable doubt that Avery killed her coach. As the jury, it is now your moral and legal duty today to convict Avery Becker of murder in the first degree. Therefore, the prosecution urges you to find the defendant guilty because Avery got in, got out, and got even. Thank you.
Thank you. Closing argument for the defense?
I'm doing it, Your Honor. Would you like me to try to turn on my camera or no?
Up to you. Do you think that, is it gonna impact? You can always try and then I guess turn it off if it's not working. It
Okay.
still says, I see a message on my side that says Carissa Adams' network bandwidth is low. So I'm not sure that the video is gonna come through, but you can certainly try if you wish.
Okay. I'll just go do the closing without my camera on if that's okay with you.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
We as a society do not blame the innocent for our own mistakes. Today, the prosecution bears the burden of proof. It is their job to go beyond any reasonable doubt that Avery Becker is guilty. That means not testing that strand of hair that we see in Exhibit 5 near the knife. By not having a complete investigation, today you heard from both Kyle Kuzak and Detective Markowitz that the right hand moved on Mackenzie Breckman. Therefore, the case had to have been tampered with. The drawer was partially open when Markowitz had said. But we saw today in Exhibit 7 that the drawer was all the way open. The police department had 3 suspects, but today in court, I only see Alex Fuentes and Avery Becker. Where is Blair Rollins? Blair Rollins is missing throughout this whole investigation. The prosecution is telling you today that there was a bear hug, a struggle, that this high school in the bear hug and in this struggle stabbed half an inch into the bone, penetrating the thoracic artery. There is no proper evidence that shows this was Avery Becker. They are just blaming. They're going what is easiest and what is most convenient. We as a society should not blame the innocents for our own mistakes. They don't have fingerprints. They don't have DNA to prove it was Avery Becker. So if we're going to start making accusations, heck, maybe I killed him, maybe Alex killed him, but we don't have any proof on who it was. They are just making accusations. The cell towers are not reliable. They aren't complete. They were never complete. How do we go off the cell towers if they're not complete? We heard from Detective Marquis today that she based a lot of her reasonable doubt that it was Avery Becker on the fact that these cell towers showed her phone near Brackman's house. But she also testified today that the cell phone can be located to the best available cell phone tower. She said it's very unlikely, but it's still likely. Avery Becker did disagree with her coach. They had a rocky relationship, as you heard from Avery Becker today. But today you also heard from Avery Becker and Taylor Perkins that Avery was with Taylor the whole day at the fry shop, at the fry shack, at the mall. How were they supposed to go throughout the whole day and end up killing Mr. Brackman? You heard today from Taylor's testimony that she wouldn't lie for her best friend, even if it was her best friend. Murder is murder. The prosecution today are trying to blame the innocents for their own mistakes. This is why, ladies and gentlemen, think about how you should find Avery Becker innocent. This is an incomplete investigation because they don't think about the other suspects. They didn't have all the evidence. Avery Becker got bumped down to B team. And yes, Taylor Perkins quit for Avery, but the team also needed Avery Becker. But just because Avery was bumped down to B team, and now suddenly after Avery Becker was kicked off the mock trial team, they think Avery Becker kicked Brackman. Why didn't Avery kill Mr. Brackman the first time? Just the second time? Yes, Avery Becker did vandalize the car, and she feels terribly sorry about that. It was just her emotional state that day. And I've had that day. We've all had that day. For most of the evidence, they have the cell towers that aren't complete. But another very important evidence for the prosecution are the text messages. But this very phone is the only reason that the prosecution could suspect Avery. And she was never even had her phone in this time. The text messages definitely could have been doctored, but Markowitz never tried to get the actual phone to see the actual messages. And coming into the investigation, Alex Fuentes didn't have the phone. He left it at home charging. But Alex Fuentes was in mock trial, so he knew how important the phone was to a case, and the text messages shouldn't just be screenshots. They should be actual messages. They should see the actual messages. Ladies and gentlemen, I urge you to find Avery Becker not guilty. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. And any rebuttal argument?
Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, opposing counsel, and members of the jury, the defense stood before you today and told you that we, the prosecution, made the assumptions in this investigation. However, it is in fact the defense that makes the assumptions about Blair Rollins, about the body being tampered with, all assumptions based off of their expert who wasn't even at the scene of the crime. Avery got in, got out, and got even, which is confirmed by 2 experts on the side of the prosecution. Thank you.
Thank you. And normally, if we were in a courtroom, I would want to clap for everyone and say thank you so much for your amazing hard work and your presentations today. I'm going to guess that we may be running a little behind, but I just thought I'd check in with our scoring panelists, our jurors, to see if they had anything any feedback they'd like to give you. Ms. Go ahead.
And we had asked that the scoring panelists go ahead and do their scoring and submit to us. And while we are confirming that we have received score sheets and that we don't have any questions of the scoring panel, that is the time that we're allotting for feedback to the teams. Okay. And then we're asking that no one at all leaves until we know for sure we have all score sheets in and we have no questions. Okay. So if I can get the scoring panelists to do that right now, that'd be great. And
and Ms. Gaithy, I did just try to send and I got an error. Yes. Error processing, and maybe that's because what Mr. Downey had mentioned, that the maybe the judicial computers won't send it.
We had that problem with all of our judges yesterday. So you can either print it, screenshot it, whatever you'd like to do and get it to us that way. I can say that Judge Bentley yesterday printed it or PDF'd it and then emailed it to Mr. Downey. And if that's what you would like to do, I can type Mr. Downey's email address into the chat so that you can get that. So just let me know which you would like to do.
So to PDF it, so if I file, see if I can do that. I'm going to make it a PDF.
I have everybody's but Judge Kilgore's.
Okay. And Mr. Downey has confirmed he's got everyone but yours, and I know we're working on that issue. She has the same issue as the other judges. It is an internal server error. Yeah. So she's trying to figure out how to get it to you now.
I'm trying to figure out a way to do it. So
and Judge Kilgore, Mr. Downey said you can also just take a photo with your cell phone if you have it available and text it to him. And if you need his phone number, I can send you a private message with his phone number on here.
Okay. Probably that's what I'll have to do because that was making it into a PDF. I have not been successful doing that.
Okay.
So I will, let's see. Maybe while I'm working on that, maybe Ms. Adams or Mr. Bednarski or Ms. Dewey, if you wanted to give any feedback.
Hold on. Sure. I did submit the score sheet, so I think I should be in the clear. 1 second, sorry.
And I'm going to go to my computer in my office and see if I can print this. I'll be off screen for a bit.
Great, thank you.
I just wanted to commend everybody for your perseverance. This has been a very trying round, but I love that by and large you didn't let the technological difficulties throw you off your game. I think that both teams exhibited tremendous professionalism and kindness, and that's actually not unlike a real trial. And I think Mr. Bednarski can probably attest to that as well. Even when, Mr. Bednarski and I are both defense attorneys. He's a much better defense attorney than I am. But when you're in a trial with an actual DA, it's not that uncommon to have moments where you have to share technology or generally make agreements about minor things to move the business of the trial along. So I commend you for that because I coached mock trial before and I've judged for years and years. And it's, I've seen some really bad behavior from time to time. And I think all of you today exhibited the best behavior that I've seen of two teams in a mock trial competition as it relates to how you treat each other. For example, even when you had your cross-examination, and everyone on the prosecution side did an amazing job with cross-examination. I know you structured it that way on purpose, but even where you were very firm, you didn't get snarky or unprofessional. If I could make just one recommendation for teams continuing on to the state competition, you could do a little bit more work with the mechanics of objections. There were some really bad objections on both sides, which made me glad that I was on silent. Some leading objections that weren't for leading questions, some relevance objections that were just weak relevance objections, and your responses need to come a lot faster. You should know the rules of evidence well enough to be able to respond appropriately and not, even when you get a bad objection from the other side, not to be thrown off of your game plan. The witnesses, by and large, you all did an excellent job. You knew your characters very well. Nobody really completely forgot what they were supposed to have memorized and supposed to be able to convey. And really nobody did was contentious on cross-examination where they didn't need to be. So just really well done, everybody on the call. And I'll take myself back on mute because I'm sharing the family space with others, and I've told them be quiet. So.
Guys, I just want to say I thought you all did a tremendous job. I thought each of you relied a little bit too much on your notes. I could see you guys looking down because I am paying attention to that. And so, but there were a couple times a couple of you had to go off script either because the witnesses kind of went somewhere else or didn't give you exactly what you were hoping under that. And I thought you guys did a great job of coming back and asking a question, even when like there was an objection to leading, and you said, "Hey, I'll rephrase." And obviously, that rephrasing of the question isn't on your notes. And I thought you guys did a great job. I thought both sides did a really good job of having a very specific theme for each one. I'm always a big proponent of threes. And obviously the prosecution, you guys did that throughout the whole thing. The only thing I would have liked in closing was you spent a lot of time on get revenge or get even. I thought you could have brought out more as it relates to the get in, get out, because you could have incorporated the experts' testimony into that more. The defense, I thought you had a great one. I think yours was, I have it written down, don't blame innocent people for our own mistakes. I think the only thing I would have liked was when you talk about when you say your own mistakes, I thought you could have really from the very beginning really said an innocent person shouldn't be blamed for the police mistakes. I kind of got that at the very end in your closing because I was trying to figure out who you meant by their own mistakes, and I thought you could have changed it just a little bit to say, you don't blame an innocent person for police mistakes, because that's really the crux of your entire defense, and understandably so. I mean, with the moving of the arm, the moving of the body, we don't have all the photographs. But really nice job, guys. I thought your cross-examinations were good. You guys kept them leading questions from both sides. When the witness tried to go either into a little bit more information than what your question asked. You said, hey, I just asked you a yes or no question. That's a great way to do it. As Ms. Adams and I are both on the defense side, when we're cross-examining witnesses, we don't want them to explain things. We just want them to answer yes or no. And I thought both sides did a really good job of keeping the witnesses into doing it. Witnesses, I thought you guys did a great job. You guys were really animated. You were really really took on the roles of who the individuals were. I really enjoyed listening to all the witnesses. I thought they really took it on and really jumped in and had fun with it. So really, you guys did great. I would agree with Ms. Adams that both of your sides' professionalism was awesome. I truly appreciated the prosecution side when Ms. Adams was having problems with her Wi-Fi. Really saying, "Hey, let's start over. Let's give her a chance to start over." Towards the end, where it was with her camera, you guys said, "Hey, we're fine with her going forward." I really do think that really kind of incorporates kind of the idea of this, which is you guys are in this together. This is a crazy time, and but even on the defense side, I thought you guys showed great professionalism as well. And so just great job, everybody. I mean, I couldn't imagine trying to do this, do a trial by Zoom. I'm glad I haven't had to do that yet. But I mean, you guys showed me that it can be done and done well. So good job.
I've done one, Rick. It was a muni trial, but one trial by Zoom.
I'm still having difficulty with this, trying to scan this in or figure out a way to get it to you. I did take a picture of it, but unfortunately in Cripple Creek, I don't have the best reception. So I am still working on that. I'll keep doing that.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Ms. Dewey, if you'd like to provide feedback.
I'm not an attorney, and this is my first mock trial, but it was really impressive. You guys did a wonderful job. I concur with the witnesses really getting into their performance. I enjoyed that very much, but the attorneys did a fantastic job as well. So I want to commend all you guys for doing a great job, and I hope to do it again next year. Look forward to seeing the results as well.
Ms. Dewey, could you tell them just a little bit about yourself? Tell the students.
Sure. I'm with Colorado Springs Rotary Club. I'm a realtor by profession with RE/MAX, and grew up in the Colorado Springs area, and did some volunteer work with the district attorney's office when I was your guys' age, but haven't really been too much in touch with the trial system since then. So this has really been interesting, except for jury duty, of course.
Thank you. We're just going to all have to sit tight. You can mute your screens. So if you want to talk with anybody or anything while we help Judge Kilgore get her score sheets submitted. We don't want anybody to leave in case there are some issues reviewing or seeing her score sheet. And Mr. Downey has confirmed that he has the rest of the scoring panelists' score sheets. So I'm just going to leave for a second and go check with him and make sure there are no issues with your score sheets, Mr. Bednarski, and the rest of the scoring panel. And if there aren't, I'm going to let you guys go. So just bear with me for just a couple minutes. Mr. Bednarski, Ms. Adams, and Ms. Dewey, you are free to go. And students, I'll need you to stay on. We're still trying to work out the issue with Judge Kilgore's score sheet. So just bear with us a little bit.
Great, thank you. One of the things you could recommend to Judge Kilgore is she said she took a picture of it with her phone. I know there's internet like for public up at the courthouse. So if she could connect her phone to that, she could then email it from her phone to you guys. So that's just an option as well.
When she comes back on, I'll make that offer to her as well. Thank you, Mr. Bednar.
Okay.
Before
You got it. If you need anything else, let me know.
Oh, wait, before you guys go, on behalf of Team 7, we wanted to thank you guys for your time and thank you for being here today. We know it's been really hard with COVID and everything, and we are grateful that you guys were willing to judge. So thank you.
Well, great job, guys. Really great job. You guys all did wonderful. And I mean, this is not an easy thing to do. And not only not an easy thing because it's a trial, but then you add this whole Zoom and everything. So great job, guys.
All right, thanks.